Hey guys, FrozenStag here, and welcome to a Westeros Total War Age of Petty Kings Hotseat announcement. This Hotseat in particular is called the Age of the Hundred Kingdoms. This is of course going to be based on the Westeros Total War Age of Petty Kings mod. The original mod itself is a fairly old mod, came out in 2015. However, in this version of the mod, we are using a sub-mod called Ice and Fire. This submod basically does some minor fixes, essentially rebrands two factions, the Wildlings into the White Walkers, and the House Bar Emmon into House Targaryen. Slight little breaks in the law there, because Targaryen shouldn't be in Westeros, and the White Walkers shouldn't have invaded Westeros till much, much later. The Long Night happened many thousand years before this, and the next Long Night, as we're seeing in the books and most recently in the show, happens another many thousand years into the future. And the same can be said for the Doom of Valyria, which, it was said that Valyria had established their own little outposts and colonies. However, if you look at the Targaryen tree, and I'll show you in a minute, you'll notice that they shouldn't really be in those members of House Targaryen shouldn't really be here. But who cares? It's only for fun at the end of the day, and that is gaming. Gaming is made for fun. Let's not waffle on too much, but yes, we are using two other submods as well as the Ice and Fire one. One submod that adds in a few campaign victory conditions that weren't originally in the mod, and also one that adds in portraits and like special sort of more sort of artwork and sort of artwork portraits for the mod, which I think I like quite a lot. I'm a big fan of the older Westeros Total War submods, so seeing like different artwork being put onto different characters, it's always a joy to see. But yes, let's go through everything that's going to take place. Let's start with turning the volume down, because that's really loud. May not be too loud for you, but it is for me. So, how do I best go through and explain this? So I'll show off the mod, I suppose. That's probably the best way to go. We show off the Targaryens. Now, for those unfamiliar with Hotseats, essentially, you send your turn back and forth to other players. So say if you're playing as Targaryen and the Grey Iron, you would send your Targaryens. As once you finish your turn, you will end the turn. It will pop up with a next player scroll, like House Grey Iron, password, whatnot. And then what you do is you send that password. You save that turn, so save it as, and I can actually show you here. If you go to load game, you can see a few examples here. You save it as others 21, save it to the White Walkers, and then send it over to the next player. Send it over to the submission channel, and then ping the next player, or just DM them, whatever, to let them know that their turn's come, and then that player can then find their turn and then play it, so on. That's the Hotseat we did a while ago, about over a year ago now, for an example there. And actually, I will show the scroll that you'll see when you when you take over to another. When you end your turn, it will go to another player. And this Hotseat has wrapped up, so I have no problem showing this now. But yeah, this is an old one that I'm still yet to make a Hotseat overview for. Hotseat overviews now are going to be more sort of showcases. They won't be like time. There's no time lapse anymore. That's going. Not going to bother with that. And the overview part is sort of going to disappear. But this is the new player's turn scroll. So as you can see, the others are right here. So you see what turn number it is, number of human players are still alive, or resolve battles, usual stuff. Obviously, some will have passwords. Or if you're starting off for immediately, then you'll notice that the password is blank. It is blank for this because eventually I'm going to show this off. So yeah,
Perhaps we could until we meet again.
That's not what to do. So end turn. Let's just click skip AI movement, and then it'll come up with House Redwayne, which is the next player, and you basically save it as Redwayne. So Redwine, Redwayne, really, and then save it as Redwayne and put in what the turn number is, and so in this instance it will be turn 21, and that's basically what you need to do. So now this won't be a Hotseat where it will fill the entire map. I don't really expect to get that full. I'll go over that in a bit with the other things, but I will show the map for now. I doubt we'll get every single faction, but we'll hopefully get a decent chunk of people involved. I'll talk a bit about what I'll do with certain regions and stuff in the next part of the video. But the Hotseat difficulty will be on medium, so essentially, because the way it works, whenever you start a Hotseat, it defaults to medium. So it defaults to medium, and so for the first player that goes first, so when you sub Hotseat, the first person that goes first will have their difficulty be set as, well, whatever you choose. But every other faction will have the default difficulty, which is medium, which will be what they're set as. So if you were to have a faction that had very hard difficulty, they would be on very hard, but then every other player will be on medium. So there's a slight that's why it's going to be on medium. So otherwise, the first player who goes first will be at a severe disadvantage to everyone else. Especially if it was a auto-resolve Hotseat, just a normal auto-resolve Hotseat when they couldn't fight players, it would be difficult for them. In terms of rules, like here, so it'll probably just be long. The victory conditions don't really matter that much. In Hotseats, a lot of them tend to get moved around and people tend to do other things, so it never really goes that way. So yeah, advice off. If you need advice for the Hotseat and you need the advisor to be on while you're playing, then I'm sorry, mate, but I think you need to play a bit of the single player game first before playing Hotseats. Manage all cities, show CPU moves, so none of that really particularly matters. Manage all cities will be turned on because otherwise I'll have people moaning at me. Show CPU moves, no battle time limit. That usually we have that turned on, so because it doesn't really matter. And CPU moves, you don't really need to see that because you're going to be fighting players. And if we can't fill the whole map in our factions that won't be controlled by players, they will be turned rebel. And say, for example, if you're not using the north, for example, then that region will just be sort of cut off, and you won't be able to go in that region because I'll cut it off somehow. What I'll do is I'll put on, well, you'll be able to go to it, but they'll be rebel controlled, and so really you won't be able to go in there. So we show off the Targaryens, and I'll point out my inaccuracies with this faction. But yeah, this mod in particular is very good. It's a mod that I'm definitely going to have to do a single player campaign on myself. I'll go for the admins. The admins who are going to be involved in this. There is one admin that will be playing the faction, but he's been admin before in many other factions. I trust him enough to not cheat. So that's why I'm letting him do his own, let him control a faction. Yeah. All these have custom stories as well, which may or may not be brought forward. I'm doing a vote right now, and there's votes going on right now to determine whether or not it will be. Whether or not we will be keeping with the law rules, and if rules are going to be, like, in the law. So if not, what will happen is that so law rules like this, so you will be sticking with alliances and wars and whatnot, ongoing wars. Or in some circumstances, if it's voted against RP rules, then they will be turned off, and you'll basically be able to do whatever you like. You can carry on the wars if you like, or do your own thing. It's up to you. But these are the Targaryens. First of all, here's the inaccuracies. Aenar the Exile, as you may remember, doesn't show up in Westeros till the Doom falls. And at this time period, the Doom hasn't happened yet, technically.
Daughter of the Crown.
Yeah, it's a bit confusing, but yeah. We'll go toggle fight and go from there. So these are the factions. You've got loads. You've got the White Walkers who start up in the north.
Once I kill you.
Originally they start off with bigger armies, but I've actually gone ahead and not neutered their armies a bit because they do get like unlimited troops. Can you shut up, Scottish man? Thank you. The wildlings are going to be rebels. I mean, if people want to play the rebels, and I probably won't let you, but I mean, if we get loads and loads of players and then you have someone left over that wants to play the rebels, then sure, maybe I might let them, but I don't think there's real need for that, really. The rebels are just there, and they're just there. Fight them, leave them alone, up to you. You got the Night's Watch as well. There will be a few law rules in place if that is voted for. If not, it won't be. But if the law rules are voted for, then so essentially what will happen is that the Night's Watch has to defeat the White Walkers before being able to go into, say, Umber territory. They are allowed to attack rebel settlements, but they're not allowed to attack the Umbers, the Starks, or the Boltons, or any of the other factions, until your main enemy is dead. And it's the same sort of thing for the Umbers. So say if the Umbers take out Bolton Stark and vassalize the Dustins, then once they've done that, they'll be allowed to enter the White Night's Watch territory and maybe attack them if they wanted to. And the same goes for other rules. So the Vale was one region as well. So the Arryns have to defeat the Royces to be able to leave the Vale. And the Mutons would have to defeat the Brackens, Blackwoods, and Muds to be able to leave the Riverlands. I'll put like a little, what I do, depending on what regions we're using, I'll make my own little map, and that'll show you what boundaries are where, and just to tag you in there. If you're playing in the Westlands, you as House Rain, you would have to defeat the Lannisters and Tarbates to be able to leave the area, and the Greyjoys would have to defeat the Grey Irons, for example. Say for the Reach, the Gardeners have to defeat the Peaks, Hightowers, and Redwanes to be able to leave. The Danes would have to defeat Yormwood, Drylands, and Martell to be able to leave. The Durandons would have to defeat the Estemonts, and the Targaryens would have to defeat House Darkland and House Crab. Hello, cat. So I'll go through the regions. I may as well while we're here. So the regions. Hello, Bella. My cat's showed up. What are you doing? What's that? Is that a humidifier? Yes, it is. I won't go through the regions, but yeah, the regions. So beyond the wall would be Shadow Tower, Nightfall, Eastwatch by the Sea, Hardhome, Ruddy Hall, Jorman's Fist, Mountain's Heart, Magnus Hold, Ice Rivers, and Hellman's Harbour. So once you defeat the White Walkers, you can leave. For the north, well, it's all the Stark territory, all the rebel settlements around here. The Umber territory, Skagos as well will be included. Of course, it doesn't matter for rebel territory. So if you want to take out, say as Umber, if you want to take out Bolton, Stark, and Dustin, you don't have to then take all the rebel settlements. You can just leave the North clans and the Skagos to its own devices if you want to. Of course, I'd recommend grabbing it really, but yeah. For rebel settlements, you're allowed to go grab them. So say if Mud wants to go north and grab Greywater Watch, they can if they want to. I'm not sure if you actually can from that distance, but if they wanted to go up there, they can. They just can't attack Dustin or anyone like that. So for the Vale, that would be these three settlements here, and obviously the Royce and Arryn territory. For the Crown lands, it'd be Crab, Targaryen, and Baratheon territory. So King's Land as well be included. These ones, I'm not sure if I should make Hassie Hall its own like part of the Crown lands, but as it's Durrandon controlled, I'll let the Durrandons hold that. So the Stormlands would be Durrandon and Estamont territory around here. The Riverlands would be territory held by Mooten, Bracken, Blackwood, and Mud. The Iron Islands would obviously be the isles you can see before you, held by Greyjoy and Grey Iron. The Westerlands is territory held by Rain, Lannisters, and Tarbeck. The Reach is territory held by Gardener, Peak, Hightower, down here, and Redbone. Hightower, you will know quite a bit about them with the House of Dragon series, and for Dawn, it would be Dane. So Dane, Yormwood, Dryland, and Martell territory. Technically speaking, maybe not. No, I was going to say Night Song and Harvest Hall are technically part of the Stormlands, but they are later down the line in the lore when the Targaryens are ruling over Westeros. But right now, as it stands, they're held by the Peak, so that'd be held. That'd be just part of the Reach territory. So, have I missed anything else? Nope, that's pretty much it. So that's basically it, really. But yeah. There's nothing. I'm not going to be making many changes to the actual factions themselves. If it's requested, heavily requested, then I might make the odd change. Nothing too fancy. I'm no expert in modding, so don't expect wonders. Don't expect miracles. But yeah, that is it for this. That's all I can really show you, really. You got loads of factions to choose from. Well, you won't choose the factions just yet, but I'll go through that in a bit. But so if I decide to. Say if I'm going to do a hot seat, this hot seat in particular will be focused on the Crown Lands, Riverlands, and the Vale, then you'll only be able to choose between the factions there. But generally speaking, you've got a lot of factions to choose from. You've got the White Walkers, Night's Watch, Umbers, the Starks, the Boltons, you got the Dustins. All factions have their own lore story going on, which is really cool. You've got the Arryns, the Royces over to the east. We've got House Mud. the King of Rivers and Hills. Well, not quite yet, but will be in. Well, if you've ever played the King of Rivers and Hills mod, then you will know they are the true Kings of Rivers and Hills later down the line. You've got the Blackwoods, the Brackens, the Mootons with that beautiful Maidenpool settlement. You've got the Targaryens, the Crabs, the Darklands with Duskendale, beautiful. The Lannisters, the Rains, the Greyjoys, Grey Irons, House Tarbeck as well. You've got House Gardner, very spread out kingdom there. House Peak with Starpike. Their capitals are right next to each other as well. It's quite interesting. House Hightower, of course. House Redwayne. Well, is it Redwayne or Redwine? No, I always gone for Redwayne because the Y is sort of like a Wayne. It's with Game of Thrones and Song of Ice and Song of Ice and Fire pronunciations. George R. R. Martin basically just says pronounce it how you like. You got the Danes, my favorite house in Dawn, the Yornwoods, or many people say Ironwoods, but I've always gone with Yornwoods. We've got the Drylands, which used to be the others back in the old versions of Petty Kings. Back in the old version of Petty Kings, you had the House Sunderland's own like sort of Ironborn fashion, which was really cool. It's a shame they removed them, really. But I think they removed them so it could fit in the Night's Watch and the White Wall, because that's before. So originally it ended like there. It ended like here. This is the border of the original Petty Kings. But I think version 3 they stuck in the wall and beyond the wall, which is cool. You've got the Martells, the Estamonts. Look, it's Esgroff, Storm's End with the Durandons, and that is all, really. Have I missed anybody? No, that is all. Right, let's jump out of that and head over to Discord, which is where we obviously host the hot seats for those that aren't familiar. We host them on my Discord, Frozen Realm. There are many other Discords as well that have their own hot seat, does their own hot seats, but this is mine, one in particular. So this is the information. So when you come onto my Discord, for new people, of course, you come into the mustering ground. That's where your name pops up. And then in the discussion hall, you have like a, if I can find it, let me find it. Let me see if I can find it. There might be someone joined recently, didn't they? I think. There you go. There's an example right there. And if you leave the server, you get Halls of Valhalla. That's where you get sent to. That's just sort of like a memorial page, I suppose. So yeah, you get like a thing that pops up there. That's where you go. But to get to the hot seat, all you need to do is scroll down to the Age of the 100 Kingdoms hot seats server channel. You have 4 channels ahead of you. Some of these channels will be converted into different ones later down the line once the hot seat starts. The voting center will be turned into the submission district, which is where you send your turns and screenshots against players. The faction selector will turn to diplomacy stand, which is where you send diplomacy messages. As you can see, there's been a lot here for this last Game of Thrones hot seat we did. So when the hot seat starts, it will be turned into those 2 channels there. Lobby Square is the general channel, which will be where you go to select your not select, but to say your interests, basically. An information chamber, similar. Well, right now it will look a bit small, but when the hot seat is done and created, it will look a bit like this. So Game of Thrones, the map, or Westeros, or whatever I put in. Prelude, which is just basically what's going on. It basically says this is a hot seat set in this year, and at the Dawn of the War of 5 Kings, and then obviously have the files and stuff to install as well. It tells you the playlist. So in this hot seat in particular, we had it going where we would be playing 2 factions. That is something that was a bit of a test run, really. In future, I'm not really going to bother with the 2 factions unless I really need to. In which case we will. You got rules, so military rules. So this is where the rules are. You got military rules, which is for when you're fighting players. Diplomacy rules, so depending on if it's been voted for, then you will have diplomacy rules. There's a few that will happen regardless, like the one-turn peace and whatnot. You've got some RP rules here, such as trial by combats and whatnot. You got map rules, agent rules, Discord rules, and general information. And you got RP decisions as well. And you've got the turn 1 map, which will of course show you when you join. And then every 10 turns you'll get a map update, so you can see this is the map for turn 1, and then you'll see there's a turn 10 map here. You see the Greyjoys have taken the Banefort, the Stannis has taken over the Crownlands, the Arryns have taken over Harrenhal and Maidenpool. Has they ever changed? No, that's it. Oh, and Brightwater Keep fell to the Tyrells, which is it's almost really odd. Why the hell would there be? Why would that be? Why is that held by Stannis? It's just she's going to be gunned by the Tyrells immediately. Pretty odd, but there you go. That's what it'll look like eventually. And this is the submission channel. This is what it will look like as well. Yeah. And sometimes I might delete the odd messages now and again if it's like if it turns into a full discussion, then I will tend to delete the messages. But if it's just a couple words and people saying things, then I might just leave as is. That, on the other hand, I might delete that, but to be honest, it is kind of funny. How you won against Willem? He didn't. Willem won against Greyjoy, so I don't know where the hell he got that from. But there you go. Right, let's go for this hot seat in particular. This is a Westeros Total War hot seat set during the Age of Petty Kings, at a time in Westerosi history where multiple kings existed and ruled over Westeros, long before the Seven Kingdoms was brought under the Targaryen dynasty. So after the Age of Petty Kings, eventually the kings turned, well, eventually there was 7 kingdoms. You had the Starks, who basically took over in the north, the Arryns, who took over control of the Vale, the Lannisters, who took over control of the Westerlands, the Greyjoys, the Hoars, who took over control of the Iron Islands and eventually took over the Riverlands, back when the Riverlands was sort of divided after, well, the Riverlands was taken out by the Storm Kings, and then the Ironborn took over the Riverlands, and so on. And then, of course, you have the Stormlands, which was held by the Storm Kings, otherwise known as House Durrandon. The Crownlands was held half and half by the Stormlands and the Riverlands, but there were some outposts held by the Targaryens and other lords in the area. You had the Reach, which was controlled by the Gardeners, Dawn controlled by House Martell, and then what's the other one? I think that's it. That is the 7 kingdoms. That was the 7 kingdoms. That's what eventually will happen in the lore, and then eventually the Targaryens will show up and conquer Westeros, which eventually happens. So going forward, Westeros long before the 7 kingdoms. Yeah, I just got to that bit. This hot seat is dependent on the amount of players that sign up, and the region we will play on will be decided by you guys in the voting channel. 2 players will be required each to fill up the 2 players will be required each to fill up the Beyond the Wall, Iron Island, Stormlands, and the Vale. 3 players will be required each to fill up the Westerlands and Crownlands, and finally 4 players will be required each to fill up the North, Riverlands, Reach, and Dawn. Below is 3 links to install the mod we will be using. The first is the main file, the Age of Petty Kings, while the other 2 is what you need to install afterwards, such as new portrait mod and wind conditions. If there are other files that you will need, I will let you know. For those having trouble or problems with installing, please contact myself and admins or put a message in the lobby for further assistance. So say if you have any issue with installing, just let me know, or just let the 3 admins you see here. I said Titus, I don't know if I said Melissa, but Melissa's also involved as well. While the few female gay hot seaters in the community, there's not many. It's mainly, as you can imagine, it's mainly male dominated. To sign up, this is important. So to sign up, please head to Lobby Square and state that you are interested, and your name as well, in case you change. It's good to state your username. I'll show you on this tournament thing. But like this, it's good to state your name. Well, apart from that guy, good to state your name and what game you're playing. But you can just state your name and yes, I'm interested. That's all you need to say, really. So sign up. So the sign-ups, again, very important, will end on the 22nd. So this video in particular will be uploaded on the Saturday the 15th. I'm recording this on the 14th, obviously. That's how time works. So on the 15th, this will be up. So in the morning. So from that time onwards, the sign-ups will end a week from now. A week from when you're watching this. And on that same date, you can head to the Faction Selector channel and state 3 factions in order of preference. So by the 22nd, I will announce what regions we will be playing in, given how many people that have signed up, and then I will allow you to state 3 factions in order of preference in that area. So it's always good to state 3 factions in order of preference, just rather than stating 1, because it's quite common that people will select the same factions, and then you have to choose between who gets that faction first and whatnot. So it's always good to state 3 faction order preference, just so I can give you the second choice in case you don't get the first choice. Also, one thing that's advisable, and I'll show you this in a second, but head to the voting center, which is this right here, to get involved in various votes or playable regions, game modes, and rules, etc. This is important in determining what people want out of the hot seat the most. So I'll show you straight away. So there's a couple preset votes that I've set up already. There's obviously going to be, you can obviously suggest, and I have put some here. If you want me to add any more, let me know. I'll happily do some more. I really like this new setup that I've made for the hot seat, so I might even be doing it forward, making it forward. Yeah. So that's just me stating that to the players. So I did restart this, and I did get a lot of people that were interested before. Originally, I was going to start it a bit differently, but then I changed up the project, so that's what I've done here. Some people already have the Age of the 100 Kingdoms hot seat participants role, but I have stated to them to reaffirm their interest again, just so I know they're 100% committed. But yeah. For those that don't, then I just remove your role if you don't say yes. So what happened if you say yes, yes, I would like to join, I will pin your message, just so I have like a little list of who's doing what. These I can remove now, that was the old idea before. Now it's changed. So now on to the voting centers. So first of all, very important, game mode. So what game mode would you like to be set at? Restricted, so normal manual would just be the game as it is. As you would normally play single player, where you'd fight against players and whatnot. Normally, fight against the AI, normally without any restrictions. So restricted manual would basically be, you'd have to have a certain amount of odds to play the battle, and you'd have to have about the same number of unit cards as well. If I can, it says, this Hotseat, isn't it? Yeah. This one here should have the rule written down. There you go. Battles against players can be manually resolved, but you must have 1 to 2 odds or having at least as many individual unit cards. So that's basically that, essentially. I already clicked on that. Yeah, these are the different ones. So you've got the portraits and you've got the faction to win conditions, which is always useful to have just to get it done. Just to make things more sense, really. And that's the main file there, of course. Onto the actual file itself, it's not massive to download. It's really not. I'll just go for this. Hang on. So that's only 1.48 gigabytes. That's 1.42 kilobytes. Hardly anything at all. And that's 21 megabytes, so not much at all either for that. There was an issue with ModDB, but I think that's been resolved now. I think. If you have issues with that, just let me know and I can figure out ways around that. So restricted manual would be what I showed you, and full auto resolve would basically be me restricting the manual. So essentially in Hotseat you can actually restrict manual resolve, so you can just turn off the feature completely, basically making players play auto resolve, literally auto resolve only. I might make a little addition to that, making it so now you have to fight auto resolve battles normally. You have to fight auto resolve battles, but you can fight manually against AI, so I might make a quick addendum to that. I'll do it now quickly, hang on. So it'll take a few minutes. So auto-resolve, but... what's the best wording? Auto-resolve, but with auto-resolve yeah, I'll just leave it as is, it's fine. Whatever. If people want me to make it give you the option to, but then again, if it's full auto resolve, you know what? I'll just do normal auto resolve. There you go. Normal auto resolve. So normal auto resolve is just going to be at non-restricted. So you can, obviously you have to fight auto resolve battles against players, but when it's against the AI, you can fight manually if you want to. So I'll quickly make a quick addendum to that. I'll just shove in we use the thumbs up one for that. There you go. Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. So this is what regions would you most like to see in this hot seat. So depending on, say if we get a load of people say if we get 4 people interested, then I decide to, and Dawn is the most highest voted. It's not right now, but if it's the most highest voted, or 4, then you'll be able to play Dane, Dryland, Yormwood, and Martell. So these are the different regions. Got Beyond the Wall, which is, I've already gone through this and showed you, but this is the factions that are in the regions, and there it is written out right there. So lore role-playing rules, so if you want to abide by the role-play rules that are already set in game, and just for more role-playing rules that are more enjoyable and just less more, if you say no to that, like most people are already in favour of that already, But if you don't want role-playing rules, then what will basically happen is that the hot seat will be basically sandbox. If you want to carry on the preset wars, you can. If you want to declare war on other people, you want to make alliances with the fucking. If the Night's Watch wants to ally with the White Walkers, then sure, that's fine. That's the kind of cursed stuff you'll get if the roleplay rules if people are voted against it. But as you can see, most people are quite in favor of it. So yeah. Screenshot battle location must be shown, so let me just get you a quick example. So this is it here. So basically this shows the battle. So Old Castle, say it's been taken, and you need to show the banners, the armies in the battle here. So the settlement you're taking, and the banners of the armies that are, so the attacking army and the defending army as well. That's essentially what it means. And if people don't want that, you can just share the screenshot without having to show that. It doesn't matter. But I figured I will do a little vote for some things that I know people have been iffy with in the past. So restriction on agent actions. So you can. So it tells you a bit of a. What's the word? What's the word? It was in my head a minute ago. I hate when this happens. So you can use addendum. Addendum? No, not really. It doesn't matter. But yeah, if banned, you will still be able to recruit agents, but not allowed to use them against players apart from princes and diplomats. If unrestricted, there will be no restrictions whatsoever. So that means basically, you can use your agent for anything. It doesn't matter what percentage it is. You can go absolutely wild with it. If restricted, there will be percentage requirements and will be restricted against starting capital settlements. So yeah, banned, unrestricted, restricted. So banned again, no agents, but you can recruit them. You just can't use them against players. And then you've got restrictions on siege equipment actions. Let me show you something. Let me show you an example of that. So yeah, here. So siege engines can only attack specific settlement types. So say a catapult can only attack certain settlements, and then the trebuchet can attack a bigger one. So if you want restrictions on that, then there you go. You can have it restricted or you can have it unrestricted. It's entirely up to you. But I do believe that is it. So I've got the pinned message thing to take to the very top. So yeah. So I'll take it to the very top if you just want to see it straight away. I've got the same going for the information channel as well, rather than having to then, because I don't really know where you start. Say if you were to click on the channel randomly, where would it send you? Oh, to the bottom. Yeah, so we're just saying to the bottom. So it's probably a good idea to click that. That just takes you to the top. So it's always good to do. But that is all for this video. There's nothing really else to go over. I'm probably going to forget something, but I don't think there is anything else to say really. The link to get into the Discord is in the description of this video. You'll notice that this is what's going to go in the description. So by the time you're seeing this, you'll see this. So all you need to do, click on that. That'll take you to the link of this Discord. This is where to download the mod and the actual submods you need to install as well. But that is all for now. This will be removed. Don't worry. I'll remove all this by when the video goes up. So by the time you're watching, if you were to join the Discord and look at this channel, this will all be gone. But anyway, that is all for now. Thank you very much for watching, and farewell.